What's good, YouTube? SaiyanZ3 here to do a different video. I don't usually do these kind of videos, but this is going to be my imaginary casting for an English dub of Hunter x Hunter, the 2011 series, or the 1999 version. Well, actually, no, it'd have to be 2011 because I have Chimera Ant characters in here, but yeah, this is going to be, my probable casting for certain characters in Hunter x Hunter. And I just want to I don't know. I think it'd just be a fun video for me to do, and I'd like to know your guys' thoughts. If you agree with my casting choices, or if you have people or if you have your own choices for certain characters, and I'd certainly like to hear that also. So yeah, let's get this started. Let's start off with our main character, Gon. I have two candidates for Gon. One is Colleen Clinkenbeard, mainly because of the way that she portrayed Gohan in DBZ Kai. What Gon is going through right now, uh, in the Chimera Ant arc is very similar to what happened to Gohan in the Cell games. Um, I'm not gonna spoil it too much, but those two situations, in terms of the anger and the rage that they feel, is just very similar. So I think Colin Clinkenbeard, she portrayed that perfectly in Kai, and I think she can do that with Gon also. And of course, Stephanie Young doesn't play, though I don't think that Stephanie Young's voice could lend itself to Gon, but Colin Clinkenbeard, I think, can definitely play that voice with Gon. Um, and she's also been able to portray sort of like the if you look at Gohan and just the days that he spent with Goku during those 10 days before the Cell game started, and just you pay attention to Colleen Clinkenbeard's performance as Gohan in those days, you can see that she can play the sort of like normal boy voice, especially even in the hyperbolic time chamber. She can portray that sort of voice that I think that could very well fit Gon. So she's choice number one for Gon. Choice number two is a very shaky, and that's Greg Ayres. The reason I say it's shaky is because with Greg Ayres, I don't know if he can portray sort of like the forcefulness or the anger of Gon. I don't know if he can do that, but he can definitely get the boy voice right. This the normal boy voice right. So those would be my two picks, but I'd lean towards Colin Clinkenbeard. With Killua, I'm going to say Laura Bailey. Just take her Lust voice in Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood and her Kid Trunks voice from DBZ. Just mix the two together, you'd have the perfect Killua voice. Deep enough, normal enough, boyish enough. Perfect voice actress rather for Killua, in my opinion, Laura Bailey. Kurapika, it's once again Colleen Clinkenbeard, and I have a reason for this. Shout out to Jason Todd, the Saiyan Elites, for telling me this. Um, Take Riza Hawkeye's voice from Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, paste it on Kurapika. Sounds perfect, absolutely perfect. So Kurapika, definitely Colin Clinkenbeard because of that voice. With the Leorio, I'm going to say Sunny Strait, and this is another, in my opinion, perfect sort of casting. Sunny Strait, just take this performance as Lupin the Third in the series Lupin the Third, A Woman Called Fujiko Mine. It's only 13 episodes. Go check it out if you haven't already. Um, Sunny Strait, just his performance as Lupin in that series, just that voice can fit Leorio so well. He can express his anger, the hilarious moments, the confusion, the regret, the anger, just everything about Leorio could be expressed through Lupin the Third's sort of voice, that English voice, and I think Sunny Strait is just perfect for that. So yeah, Sunny Strait for Leorio if there's ever an English dub of Hunter x Hunter. With Hisoka, I have two choices: Steve Blum and Crispin Freeman. Steve Blum or Chimaru, nothing needs to be said. Just use that voice in Hisoka, it'd pretty much be perfect. Crispin Freeman, I think he can sort of play that, slithering serpent-like voice as he did with the Alucard in Hellsing Ultimate, the Hellsing OVAs. So yeah, one of those two could definitely be perfect as Ahsoka. Illumi, this one's a little out there, but I'm a pick Todd Haberkorn. I think if you took his performance as Android 19 in DBZ Kai and sort of like brought the voice down maybe just a little bit, maybe like one or two notches below, I think that voice could be very similar to how Illumi's voice sounds in the Japanese version. So Todd Haberkorn for Illumi. Crollo, Robert McCollum, no doubt. I'm sure we've all seen the similarities between Crollo and Sensui, and Robert McCollum has shown the chops and the voice acting chops to play sort of like a very calm, quiet, silent, uh, intelligent sort of villain and sort of calm, collected individual just in general. And I think Robert McCollum has showed that in Sensui, so I think he should be able to do that in Crollo. And I think that voice would be perfect. The sort of like very calm, soothing, but villainous voice would be just amazing on Crollo. For Phaeton, Obvious, once again, Chuck Huber, Android 17, and Hiei. I mean, just take that voice and put it on Phaeton. I mean, Phaeton is pretty much Hiei in a sense. In Hunter x Hunter, he has the sword, the lightning quick speed, the fire. So yeah, Phaeton definitely should be voiced by Chuck Huber in my opinion. Finks, this one's going to need a little more explanation. I pick Andrew Chandler. If you guys know who Andrew Chandler is, Andrew Chandler is the guy who voices Cooler in the DBZ movies. One thing that I was doing when I was going through the Cooler movies again is I took note of Andrew Chandler's performance as Cooler in the quiet scenes, not when he's like yelling like deep like attacks or just making threats or anything, just in his normal voice. When he gets like really quiet, I think that voice would perfectly suit Finks. It really would. It really would, in my opinion. Um, I don't know if he can consistently keep that voice. It might be a strain on his throat, no homo. But I think Andrew Chandler could definitely play Finks with that sort of like quiet voice that he uses for Cooler in those situations. For Machi, I'm gonna pick Stephanie Young. Stephanie Young, I chose her based off her performance as Nico Robin, or excellent performance as Nico Robin in One Piece. And Machi and Nico Robin are kind of similar in the sense that they're both like stealthy. Robin uses like a lot of disguises, and she's always on the run and gathering information, that sort of stuff. Machi's kind of similar in the sense that she uses the shadows and stuff, so she's like a very like sort of silent female character. And I think Stephanie Young, she uses Nico Robin's voice and just didn't make it sound as laissez-faire or as relaxed, made it a little more serious. I think Stephanie Young could definitely pull that off. Maybe one other character who could pull off Machi's voice is Meredith McCoy, based off her performance as Android 18 in the original dub of DBZ. I think maybe that voice could probably suit Machi. I can definitely see it. For Uvogin, I'm going to pick R. Bruce Elliott. Just his performance as Captain Ginyu, and that sort of like shouting, brash, boisterous voice. He also played Whitebeard. I think he has like a deep enough voice to play Uvogin and have that sort of like eccentric, like crazy sort of like a battle yell / roar to him. And I think definitely Uvogin, R. Bruce Elliott could do that with Uvogin for sure. With Franklin, I'm going to say Jeremy Inman, based off his performance as Android 16. Of course, again in DBZ, sort of silent, deadpan, stone face sort of persona, just face in general. And I think Jeremy Inman did that perfectly with 16, and Franklin is pretty much the same way, in the sense that he rarely shows any emotion. Like 16. I mean, 16 only shows emotion with like birds and nature and stuff, but Jeremy Inman I think should play Franklin. Ging Freaks, wow, big role. But I'm going to pick Keith Silverstein. Keith Silverstein played Lobo Stark, I think that's his name, in Bleach, Espada #1. I think that's his name, Lobo Stark, if I'm not mistaken. Keith can, Mr. Silverstein, or just Silverstein in general, can play that sort of voice that's very lackadaisical, almost lazy in a sense, but powerful. And I think just that the voice that he used for Lobo Stark can lend itself to Ging Freak's character, and I think it will work almost beautifully. With Zeno, this one's a little odd too, but I'm going to pick Duncan Brannon. Zeno is sort of like a little eccentric and a little sort of, like crazy in the head, and it so to speak. He actually tells Silva to kill him, to kill Chrollo if that's what it takes. And then you sort of see like the eccentricity when you see Zeno grab Chrollo's arm and then repeatedly attack him before Silva uses his finishing move on Chrollo. Duncan Brannon can showcase that that sort of eccentric nature. And I think he did that with Babidi in DBZ. So don't take Babidi's voice, just take it and maybe put it like 2 or 3 notches down below to make it sound like an old man. But do not make Zeno's voice sound deep. The thing about Zeno's voice, and Netro's voice for that matter, is that Zeno's voice is a little like higher pitched as an old man. So you don't want to take it like too deep. You want to make it sound almost like maybe someone in their like 50s or 60s. Even though Zeno's not that old. I think he's like what? I don't think he's that old. I think he's like definitely older than that. But I think Duncan Brannon, because of that sort of eccentric nature, can play Zeno. Silva, my favorite character. My main man, Chris Sabat. Listen, that Piccolo voice, that sort of Daisuke Jigen voice that he uses in Lupin the Third. Um, wow, just using those two voices and sort of like combining them a little bit could definitely bring about Silva's character and just the sort of no nonsense, deadpan, stoic nature that Silva has. Chris Sabat could do that beautifully. Could do that beautifully. Netro was a very hard one to pick, but the only choice for me that I could pick off the top of my head was Mike McFarland. Of course, for playing Roshi, but Netro's a little more go hard than Roshi. You know, Roshi's more of almost like a gag character almost, but Netro is a little more go hard, a little more serious, and a little more eccentric like Zeno. I think if Mike McFarland took his Roshi voice and sort of combined it with his Goemon voice. Goemon is a character, once again in Lupin the Third, a woman called Fujiko Mine. He played this character called Goemon. If you sort of took that voice and combined it with the Roshi voice, maybe it could somehow pass as Netro a little bit. I think it could work. With the Razor, I'm going to pick Jeremy Inman. Razor, again, stoic, silent, almost villainous in a sense, has sort of like a happy-go-lucky face, that creepy smile, so I think Jeremy Inman can do that, for sure. With Genthru, I'm going to pick Eric Vale, just based off his performance as Kim Lee. Almost has like that curious tone to his voice in the Japanese version, and I think Eric Vale can definitely pull that off based on his performance as Kim Lee, and actually his performance as that one blue-haired racer in the latest episode of Space Dandy, episode 6 or 7, I forget which, the Buddha episode. Just take those two voices and combine them, and I think you've got a perfect voice for English dub with Genthru. With Kite, I'm going to pick Kirk Thornton. Kite is sort of, again, deadpan, stone-faced, serious, stoic, has one or two idiosyncrasies to him that make him humorous. Kirk Thornton, I think if you take his character, his performance as Jin in Samurai Champloo, perfect for Kite. He should play him. I also think Kirk Thornton is probably the best candidate to play Shoot McMahon. Shoot is similar. He's very silent, not very emotional, so to speak. Actually, he is emotional, but not overly exuberant in his portrayal or in his external showcase of emotion. You know, he's not very. He's sort of very. He's always frowning and always has like a scowl on his face, and I think Kirk Thornton could perfectly pull that off. The question with Kirk Thornton as Shoot, though, is if he can do sort of like the epiphany moments that Shoot McMahon recently had in the recent episodes of Hunter x Hunter. Whether he can pull that off, like sort of like the pain and the epiphany, you know, with Shoot when he was like, oh, I want to fight alongside Gon and do this and do that, you know. The question remains to be seen if Kirk Thornton, I think, can do something like that, but everything else about Shoot's character, Kirk can do pretty well, in my opinion. With Pito, I'm going to say Kara Edwards. To my knowledge, Kara Edwards has never played a villain, so this might be a new role for her. But Kara Edwards played Goten and Videl in DBZ. I think if you take those two voices and combine them and just make it a little more villainous, I think Kara Edwards has the voice acting chops to pull that off with Pito, just based off the Japanese version of her voice, her voice, because it's the anime. So with Poof, I'm going to say J. Michael Tatum, very flamboyant, just very elegant, so to speak, and J. Michael Tatum did that perfectly with Zarbon in DBZ Kai. So just take that voice, I think, and make it sounds similar, the Japanese version of Poof and J. Michael Tatum's version of Zarbon in DBZ Kai, when you compare them. When I say Zarbon, I don't mean the monster form, I mean the base form. I think that voice would just work perfectly on Poof. And with Yuppie, I'm going to say Patrick Sates. Because that Kampachi voice in Bleach, too much. It's just amazing. One spoiler character for those of you who haven't caught up to the manga. It's just one. You guys won't know who he is until later. Preston Hill. For Preston Hill, I'd cast Kyle Haber just because of Haber's impersonation as Aizen in Bleach. If you guys know Preston Hill's character, I think that Aizen voice would work pretty well, on his person. So yeah, Kyle Haber is Preston Hill. When I was making this, I had some difficulty thinking of people or choices for Nobunaga. My bad. Morel, Nove, Knuckle. and especially Meruem, because Meruem is a very, um, I don't know who could play it. I was thinking maybe Sean Schemmel for Meruem, but because Sean Schemmel played Paradox in the Yu-Gi-Oh movies, the Yu-Gi-Oh the Bonds movie, the 5D's Bonds movie or whatever. Maybe that sort of voice taken and just make it like a little more serious could lend itself to Meruem, but I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. But yeah, those are my picks for the English dub for Hunter x Hunter. Some characters. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys have anyone else you guys could think, if you guys think anyone else could play the part a certain character better, let me know. What are your thoughts? And just rate my overall casting, so to speak. And yeah, this is just a video that I wanted to have fun with. Thank you guys for watching.